Hey everyone, it's Dave here. Welcome back to the Old Dirty Basement Podcast. Got some exciting news to share with you all today.
Yeah, that's right, Dave. We are thrilled to introduce a brand new feature to our podcast, Fan Mail. You can now send your letters, questions, and stories, and we'll read them right here on our show.
Absolutely, Matt. This is your chance to be part of the podcast. We want to hear everything you have to say, whether it's fun facts, fan theories, or just a shout out. Send it our way. Zap, you want to tell them how they can send us fan mail?
Absolutely, Dave. All you need to do is go to our episode descriptions and click the fan mail link to send us a text. It's super easy to use. Don't worry, your phone number won't be shared. Everything we see is confidential. It's just between us. Remember, folks, this podcast is for you, and we want you to be a part of it. So don't hesitate. Send in your fan mail today. We might just read your letter in our next episode. All right, that's our exciting news for today. Can't wait to get your fan mail. And as always, I'm Zap.
I'm Matt.
And I'm Dave, signing off from the Old Dirty Basement Podcast. So we'll catch you where?
On the flip side.
If we don't see you sooner, we'll see you later.
Peace.
Thanks for tuning in to the Vintage Cinema Review. On this week's episode, we're covering from 1979, The Warriors.
The Warriors, a vivid picture of gang life, the bonds of brotherhood, and the lengths to which one will go for survival.
Yeah, surviving 9 members about in the Warriors, trying to survive a night in New York City, trying to get back to Coney Island with about 100,000 other gang members trying to get them.
Yeah. So why don't you guys gang up and leave us a 5-star rating on Spotify. On Apple, you can leave us a 5-star rating and a written review, and sit back, relax, and enjoy from 1979, The Warriors. Hey, this is Dave.
Matt.
And Zap.
And welcome to the Vintage Cinema Review,
where every week we review some of our favorite films from the past.
Hey, there ain't no late fees here.
Silence is golden. And be kind. Rewind.
Hey, if I had some Coke bottles right now, I'd be clinking them, getting ready for this next movie coming up.
Yeah, that's a iconic scene.
It's pretty much all I knew about this movie back in the day. I knew it had like that come out and play scene.
Right.
For what's the movie, Dave?
That movie would be Warriors, 1979.
And this was a shout out, right? This is
our boy Brooklyn Bryan.
Brooklyn Bryan.
Yeah, he's been around since the beginning of the podcast.
I thought you were going to say he was in the Warriors because it was in that area, right? Brooklyn.
Yeah, he would have been like 8 years old, I think, around this time.
An innocent bystander.
Yeah.
As it were.
I asked him, I said, hey, is this what New York's really like? He's like, nah, man, there's nothing like that up there.
Not now.
But Warriors, 1979, rated R, running time of 92 minutes. Release date on this, February 9th, 1979. So we were real young.
I was 2.5.
Yeah.
Three,
yeah. So this was directed by Walter Hill, screenplay by David Shaber, Walter Hill, and it was based on a book by Saul Urich, The Warriors.
I bet the book would have been good.
Yeah.
Because all that stuff that they put on film, you would have imagined in your head, it would have been different.
There's still a chance. I bet the book still exists.
Yes.
Sure, it's still around. So this was produced by Lawrence Gordon with a budget of $4 million. Box office, $22.5 million. That did pretty well.
Heck yeah. Back in
not bad.
Early 80s, late 70s.
That's not bad.
My goodness.
Yeah.
The juice was worth the squeeze for that.
Because tickets were cheap. I'm sure back in 79.
Shit, yeah.
What do you think, $2?
Probably cheaper than that.
Maybe $1.50?
Yeah.
Something like that. This movie was shot entirely in New York City. Filming for this 1979 action thriller took place from June 26, 1978 through September of 1978.
Okay.
Like 3-4 months.
A 3-month run there. That's not bad.
So that's pretty much it for that fun stuff. I'll turn it over to Zap for the cast.
Sure. All right. The cast of Warriors includes, but is not limited to, Michael Beck as Swan, James Remar as Ajax, Deborah Van Valkenburg as Mercy, Marcelino Sanchez as Rembrandt, David Harris as Cochise, Tom McKittrick as Cowboy, Brian Tyler as Snow, Dorsey Wright as Cleon.
Klingon.
Cleon.
Oh, yeah. Cleon.
Terry Michos as Vermin, David Patrick Kelly as Luther, Roger Hill as Cyrus, Edward Sewer as Masai, Lynn Thigpen as the DJ, and Thomas G. Waits as Fox. Please note, Thomas G. Waits had to actually dig for that one.
So which one was Fox? Was he the
He was the brown curly-haired dude.
like, hey man, yeah, I'm gonna get that guy?
He was the brown curly-haired warrior.
Oh, he's a
Oh,
warrior.
he's a warrior.
Yeah, he was a warrior. He was the brown curly-haired dude that was basically like the sidekick to Swan.
I thought it was maybe the guy from the Rogues. You know, that was like, hey man, yeah, you know that guy.
I know that guy.
The guy with the no, I thought he was he looked like the same dude from the vampire movie we just watched from Lost Boys.
Lost Boys.
Yeah, I thought that was like his brother or something.
Oh yeah. That James Remar, Ajax. So
Yeah.
as soon as I was like, man, I know that guy. And so he was the dad in Dexter. I don't know if you guys watched Dexter. at all.
Yes.
Yep.
So in the flashback scenes, he was the dad from Dexter, and there was something else too that I saw he was in, but very recognizable face.
I was looking his background up. Like, he was in and still is in a lot of stuff. Like a lot.
Dexter was a big one. There was something else I thought that was like a big.
He plays some.
Sex in the City. That's what it was.
He was in
Yes, he
Sex and the
was.
City.
He was not Big. The other guy,
Not
the
Mr.
one-
Big.
Not Mr. Big.
So this guy, that James Remar, he doesn't necessarily play big lead roles, but he's in such a shit ton of supporting roles, and I mean a ton. And he does voice work. I mean, like, yeah.
When I first saw I thought the one guy was Richard Gere, but it was not.
Which one? Trying to.
He was one of the warriors. I
the
thought
main guy.
not the main guy. No, it
Dude,
was,
the main guy, Swan, so that's Michael Beck. I swear to God and Sonny Jesus, he looks to me like Heath Ledger. He looks like a younger Heath Ledger.
Yeah, I could see
a
that.
little bit.
100%. Anyways,
We'll turn it over to Matt for a brief synopsis.
Okay, let's synopsis of the Warriors. I like how you printed this out.
This
Dave.
is
It's
off
very very large.
Off the back of a VHS.
Nice. The Warriors. A battle of gigantic proportions is looming in the neon underground of New York City. The armies of the night number 100,000. They outnumber the police 5-1. And tonight they're after the Warriors, a street gang blamed unfairly for a rival gang leader's death. This contemporary action-adventure story takes place at night, underground, in the subculture of a gang warfare that rages from Coney Island to Manhattan to the Bronx. Members of the Warriors fight for their lives, seek to survive in the urban jungle, and learn the meaning of loyalty. This intense and stylized film is a dazzling achievement for cinematographer Andrew Laszlo.
Like the wrestler.
Yes,
Laszlo.
the Warriors.
or like Laszlo Holyfeld from Real Genius.
Laszlo.
Oh, yeah. Which one was that? In
That was John Grease. He's the guy who lived in the steam tunnels.
Yeah, he
lived
had-
in the
that
basement.
guy. Yeah, he was cool.
Lived in the closet.
He
forgot
won
about
he
that
won
guy.
all the money for the
Frito Lay concert.
yes.
So yeah, I guess that's it for the synopsis. You want to steer us through this gem of a movie? Or is that
I will happily steer us through this gem.
yeah?
Expound on Matt's synopsis a bit, shall we?
Mm-hmm.
It all started on a warm summer night when the Warriors, a Coney Island gang led by Swan, traveled to the Bronx for a citywide meeting. Organized by Cyrus, the charismatic and influential leader of the Gramercy Riffs. The purpose of the gathering was to unite all of the city gangs into one unstoppable force. Cyrus articulated a vision where the gangs, with their combined power, could collectively take control of the city. Cyrus's vision created an atmosphere filled with both tension and hope. So, where did they film this? How does this happen? Thousands of gang members of all these different gangs get together in an amphitheater someplace. Was it like Central Park or some
Yeah.
shit?
Had to
Well,
be in Central
well, I was
Park.
thinking like exactly that. How do you coordinate that in 1979? Like if you're talking about like
No phones.
no phones, no nothing. Like
no
is it-
lights, no motor cars.
You put up flyers, cops are gonna know and show
Yeah.
up, which maybe they do, anyhow. But yeah, I thought about that. This is before social media and like where you can post and like reach that many people. This is like an insane amount of gangs.
It's amazing. So this basically takes us through all that we did so far is get through the intro, basically, and the start of this meeting where we see this charismatic dude standing there with this weird ass robe that looks like since you're talking a wrestler, it looks like a championship boxer standing up there with this robe.
Yeah,
With
hype
his-
man.
His weird ass hair.
and the famous "Can you dig it?"
Can you dig it?
Can you dig it?
As we start through these credits of the opening credits of this movie, you see all the different gangs that they're going to end up highlighting later in the movie. these are some messed up looking dudes,
Hey,
man.
did you guys like? I couldn't stop laughing to myself the whole beginning of this movie. Like, first of all, I thought Michael Jackson. It was like a Michael Jackson video.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
I thought like Jackson was going to pop out.
Correct.
And then I was like, is that Prince? Like, I thought the whole new Power Generation was like a whole band.
Well, yeah.
And then-
the little,
There's like the Revolution is a band. There's like every 80s music group was like their own gang.
yeah, they all had gimmicks.
Yeah, like Guns N' Roses was there. I was like, who's that gang?
That's
Yeah.
that's the best way to put it. I think every gang was basically its own gimmick. Like especially the baseball boys.
Oh
Yeah,
my
that
god.
was,
Like,
they were like David Bowie, like with the face makeup.
Yeah,
or Alice Cooper.
Every
and,
group from the early 80s was had their own gang in this movie.
One thing I did like, and I thought was pretty, maybe it was at the time, I don't know how many movies were doing it, was slick how it started out as like a comic book.
Yeah.
And then it would like fade into the real, the real life scene.
Yep.
And that very beginning kind of reminded me of like 300 or This Is Sparta. And they were describing like in the very, very beginning of the movie before all this stuff started.
What
I
was
thought
the
that was
movie
very cool.
With Bruce Willis, they did it kind of like that.
Oh, that was Sin
Sin
City.
City.
Sin City was
Yeah.
cool. I dug the way they did that.
Yeah.
So this is 79, and this movie, for me, I thought it looked good.
Yeah.
Like visually, like the filming was really well done, and I thought that was pretty slick. Like it didn't look too cheesy for the time.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I did raise those same questions, Zap. How they getting, and it's a movie. We'll suspend disbelief, but to coordinate all that was pretty impressive.
Well, gangs talk. I mean, I'm sure it's spread throughout. You know, hey, big meeting.
I did like the one black guy from the Warriors. He had like the headdress on.
Correct.
And, yeah, that was cool looking.
That was neat. I like that guy. In fact, he's the one that I think that we'll get to it. We'll get
The
to it.
very village people-y.
Yeah,
Very village people.
The Warriors.
yeah, he was cool.
So there was a truce at this point. At this point in the movie, there was a truce
Yeah,
that was
everybody-
called by
Cyrus.
because
Yeah.
when you're the leader of the biggest gang, you basically get to
Yeah, there are a lot of riffs.
you get to set some rules.
Oh, another question I had right away is these gangs, like some of them were made up of like 8 people. Like, is that a gang?
Yeah.
Or 12 people in a gang. Like, who are you fighting or who are you going against when you have 8, 9, 10 people?
I don't know.
Well, this is kind of like travel baseball. Like they just keep creating teams. Like I can't make that team. I'll just make my own team.
That's correct.
and
And that is exactly like travel baseball, by the way.
right.
Exactly.
Like oh, I'm not good enough to be on that gang, so I'm just making my own gang. Like and it got me to thinking too. Like, what are some ideas? Like, seems like anything goes in these gangs. I was thinking of some ones you can come up like the professionals, young professionals. You wear like suits.
Sure.
Or like what would the gimmick be? You guys have any ideas? Like you're
Stab him with a pen.
Yeah.
Well, no, they had pretty much every gimmick there. Like we said earlier, they had like an Irish gang. They were wearing like the Irish hats.
How about the Mork from Work guys? They were like suspenders and like the striped shirts.
Yeah, striped shirts, suspenders.
Yeah.
They had like guys like the Fedora gang. I was
Yeah.
like, who are these cats? Are they supposed to be like the Asian? There was an Asian mafia gang
I
Yeah.
love that you said the Mork from Ork gang.
Yeah.
because the suspenders.
If we're already throwing back to 1979, I mean, damn, that's a throwback there.
Yeah.
Mork and Mindy.
But that's what I thought when I saw that outfit. I'm like, that looks like what he wore.
Absolutely.
He wore that same outfit all the time.
Absolutely. I also thought of, Clockwork Orange.
Yes.
Yeah, that's a good one.
Yeah, some of these gangs look reminded me of those cats.
I'm sure. Yeah, the costume design there, where they were just like throw bandanas on these guys, put something on those guys.
Yep.
Put a nice flat brimmed hat on these guys. And
All of these guys
Call it
have
a
to
day.
wear Vans. All of
Yeah,
these guys have to wear, shell cut Adidas.
the
Right.
Adidas,
Shell top Adidas.
that gang was kind of cool. I wanted to join them. They had like just like jeans, shell tops,
Yeah.
like just whatever, like
Oh, yeah.
shirt.
Like a tank top. or
Yeah,
something.
yeah.
Well, leaders from over 100 gangs attended, all eager to hear this visionary speak. Amidst this tense peace, the unexpected happened. As Cyrus's impassioned speech reached its climax, a shot rang out, fatally wounding him. Pandemonium erupted as Luther, the cunning and manipulative leader of the rogues, falsely accused the warriors of the assassination. Chaos ensued, and in the fray, the police raided the meeting, forcing everyone to flee.
What was that? The Warriors, man.
Yeah, he was framing them.
That guy's so squirrely. So we all saw the cops pull up, but their lights were off. Like, what were they waiting for? Just other cops to show up?
Yeah,
Well,
they didn't even see the berries flashing them high beams.
True.
Well, I'm wondering, I was thinking that too, Zap. Like, I'm wondering if their thing was like, we're going to show up, and if anything goes down, we're going to, but otherwise we're going to wait and observe.
Okay.
Because I guess maybe what they're doing is not illegal.
Also, let's
But I
not
don't
forget
know.
that the cops, according to Cyrus, the cops are outnumbered 5-1 or 3-1. I think it was 60,000 was the number. So 60,000 people, 60,000 gang members and 20,000 cops.
Right. I would just make up a gang that dress like cops.
Yeah.
That way, you know what I mean?
It's so confusing. Everybody should dress as cops. The
Right.
cop gang.
It's true.
The other gangs won't mess with you, and then the other cops will be like, oh, they're cops. Well, I guess they would maybe know. But there's probably so many cops in New York that you get away with it.
Maybe that's where the impersonating an officer charge came from.
It might have
People, everybody dressed like.
So as I'm watching this movie, right? So I've certainly never been in a gang.
No.
How does it work? How does one live in a gang? And by that, is it like, do you have a regular day job? Do you go home and hang out with your, and then at night, is that when you just go out and hang out with the gang? Or do these people just all sleep together and hang out together someplace? Like, and they're all bums basically.
They never got to that point in the story. We didn't know about their day jobs or anything.
Again, that's the thing. Do they even have day jobs? How does it work being in a gang?
It looked like New York at that time was sort of like an apocalyptic type town. I think that's where they were going with the story. I think is like the gangs just ran the town. And I think you ganged all day and night. It's just like,
Yeah, because you're right. Like, you go to work and then you got to go home and get dressed.
Right.
To go out and hang.
It's like a second job.
Yeah, exactly. Like, I'm on patrol.
Do these people have jobs? Or do they? I just don't understand. Look, I understand it didn't go into it, and it didn't need to in the movie. I just don't know anything. I don't know shit about being in a gang.
You mean like if you're like I don't even know to bring up gangs or in trouble for it, but like a Hell's Angel type thing. Like,
sure.
I know those guys have day jobs. They all work,
right?
Unless you're like the Prez or something.
That reminds me. Did you see the one? There was the back of the jacket of one of the gang members at the
gathering,
the big meeting,
the big gathering. What was it? It's like the Rotunda or wherever the hell they're at. It was like Satan's mothers. I'm almost positive the back.
Wasn't that from The Simpsons?
No, that was the Hell's. No, I'm sorry, that was in Pee-wee's Big Adventure.
Pee-wee's Big Adventure.
Hell's Satans.
Hell's Satans.
That was that one where he's walking down the alley and Pee-wee he goes and like the guy
when they got
runs
the
away.
light on.
No, this was but that was good. The scene with the Hell's Satans is where Pee-wee does the tequila dance. He does the tequila dance at the bar.
Because he knocks all the bikes over.
That's right. Hell's Satans. All right. Panic cascaded across the thousands of gang members as word of Cyrus's death and the warriors' alleged guilt spread like wildfire. A terrifying manhunt began. The warriors found themselves isolated in the Bronx, far from their Coney Island turf. Marked men, the warriors had a death sentence hanging over their heads. They were now in a race against time to make their way back home, while every other gang in the city was out for their blood.
Now, was that kind of like when we were kids? Like when you're playing tag, if you get to like where you're from, it's like you're safe.
You're safe, yeah.
You're like, you're touching a tree so they can't touch you. If you're back at your like,
there was a home base
safe
or some
spot.
shit.
Okay.
Yeah.
It's those big cities though that and you always hear about that. That's like you're safe on this block, but don't cross over onto that block because that's a different turf or different territory. It's just crazy how in these big cities, like literally, you can walk 2 blocks and be in a bad area or an area where you're at risk. But they made a comment, and I meant to ask Brooklyn Brian about it. And I know the subway system maybe like weaves around and stuff, but they made a comment something like we're 50 miles from home.
Yeah, so that's way the fuck off.
Yeah, I was going to say that
you're talking distance on foot from Coney Island up to
the Bronx.
It is not 50 miles. I want to say it's 20 or 30.
Okay, so did you hear that though?
I did.
Made that comment.
The guy had said, in fact, it's that guy that we were talking about from Sex and the City guy. It was Ajax. It was James Remar who had said, "Look, we got to be like 50, 100 miles from home." Oh no, shit, I'm wrong. It was not him. It was Sanchez. It was Rembrandt.
Oh, okay.
Marcelino
the spray
Rembrandt,
paint guy.
the guy with the Puerto Rican guy with the crazy afro.
But yeah, he made that comment. I'm like, I know New York's big, but is it that big?
No,
like,
it's 20, 30 miles at best.
30 miles, yeah.
They were just a little off. They didn't have,
But I'm wondering if he was maybe saying like
ways or anything.
Maybe the actual subway system like weaves in and out. Maybe it is 50 miles of subway because it's stopping and weaving and it, not like a straight beeline, but still, that's still like it put it in perspective, even at 20, 30 miles.
Sure.
That's like from us in Harrisburg to Lancaster on foot.
Correct.
That's a hell of a, well, not necessarily on foot the whole way because they're jumping trains and doing whatever else, but yeah, you got quite a way to go. But, yeah, I thought that was cool, like to see the different neighborhoods and areas they had to get through and all that.
Yeah.
It was neat to see.
Absolutely.
He made a comment, made me laugh. And he was talking about because this comes up a lot as the story progressed about like women and stuff and like hooking up. And he's like, yeah, maybe we'll get some strange wool.
Yeah. Strange wool.
Yeah, because you know,
Yeah, that might pop up in the story here.
bushes were all in back then.
Hey, it was
they're
all the craze.
still in today.
Yeah, they are. Strange wool.
I gotta believe that there was only. It's not that they were in at the time. It's just nothing had ever changed. Like the concept of razors and you know scaping down there didn't
Right.
really come in until the 90s.
Right.
Hell, they
I'm
got
saying
commercials
forever.
now, like a lady like practically shaving on TV. Did you ever see that?
I did not see
Yeah,
that.
like she has like her panties on, like she's pushing them down. Like,
Yeah.
What the hell kind of channels are you watching, man?
no, it's just on regular like TV.
Strange wool. Isn't that the movie with the two brothers?
Yes.
And they-
Strange wool.
Strange. Well, they got to drink beer.
yeah.
All right. The Warriors' first major encounter was with the Turnbull ACs, a gang notorious for their brutality, distinguished by their shaved heads and menacing demeanor. Driving a graffiti-covered bus, the Turnbull ACs spotted the Warriors and gave chase. In a desperate bid to escape, Swan led his gang in a daring run to the nearby subway station. They barely made it to safety of the train as the Turnbull ACs closed in, setting the tone for the perilous journey ahead.
What's the AC for, I wonder?
Air conditioning?
Is that what it is?
No.
Auto Club.
Auto Club?
I don't know.
It sounds like a soccer team or something.
Antichrist?
It's Turnbull ACs.
Turnbull Antichrist?
Antichrist, yeah.
No idea. But it's weird that so these guys are in this bus
Yeah.
that's just driving up and down this one block, and all of a sudden they do a U-turn and they come back, and that's when that's when the Warriors decide to run.
Well, they made a comment about them being skinheads, so I was thinking, are they like all white guys or something? That
No,
were
I didn't
No,
know
skinheads?
there wasn't. They
But-
were. Yeah.
But they
In
were.
fact,
It
there was
was a mix
actually-
of people. Yeah.
I think there was actually more of a token white guy.
there was
in
two.
the whole gang?
Yeah, two in
There
the
was
whole gang.
two in the whole gang.
So when they were saying skinheads, they didn't mean it that way. They just meant they all have their head shaved.
I think this was
basically.
that's right, and that was before the idea of, or I should say, not the idea, but what we know today as the definition of a skinhead. This movie came out long before that ever.
before
came
they'd
about.
use that term.
Yeah.
I got you.
Yeah, it had like two white dudes that looked like they came from Romper Stomper, and
Yeah.
the rest were just like other
It was
just skinhead dudes.
So the subway thing back then, man, that's for damn sure the mode of transportation. Like I can dig that, and I look, I love the subways, I still do, but like I just think of all of these crazy ass bum gang members just jumping on the subway as quickly as they possibly can.
Well, the only problem I had with that scene was when the Turnbull ACs were chasing the Warriors. The Warriors go all the way down to the end and finally slip on the subway.
Why didn't they jump on earlier?
Why didn't the
Correct.
guys just jump in
Same.
the subway? They're like, oh, we got them anyway.
Same.
Because they had to go all the way down to the very one on the end, and they're all like looking and hitting like and throwing their chain at the subway because it went away. I'm like, all you guys had to do was walk in the door. I got mad.
This made me think of a Beastie Boys lyric too that they say in the one song, "Jump the turnstile, never pay the toll," which nobody was doing in this movie. They're just they're in a hurry, but they're jumping that turnstile because I guess when you go through there, is
No,
that when
in
they
the
charge
beginning,
you, or
did you
what?
see the one guy
Matt-
got like all the coins? Started like putting it in for all the gang. He's like, our gang member is cool.
Matt
He's
is
listening.
absolutely correct. There's a dude in the beginning that exchanges $1 or $2 and gets a shit ton of tokens. And as the gang members are coming through, he's jamming
Yep,
the coins
putting
into
his
the
coin in.
Paying for it.
Yeah.
Paying for
Oh,
it.
I missed that.
Yeah.
Okay, there you go then.
Which makes sense. They didn't want to bring any heat on or attraction to where they were going. Like, oh, hey, look, we got a group of these guys that look like this, that, or the other thing. They just jumped on this train, go in this direction
Yeah,
I
they
got
were-
you.
without paying.
They were doing
Yeah.
it by the rules.
But that Ajax, he's taunting those guys at the very. He's the one that waits as the bus is coming by.
Correct.
And he's like, doesn't he flip him off or something? I forget. And the guy swings. I don't know if he had a bat or a big wooden plank.
He hits the
and just
metal
misses him. Yeah.
pole there. Yeah.
Yeah. So this guy's a risk taker. it looks
Risk
like.
taker, heartbreaker. All right. Realizing the gravity of their situation, the Warriors quickly devised a plan to stay together and watch each other's backs at all costs. However, as they continued south, they were ambushed by the Orphans, a loosely organized gang considered weak by other groups, but had a significant presence in their territory. Initially, a truce seemed possible when Swan tried to negotiate peace, but Luther's lie had turned the Orphans against them. Tension quickly escalated when Mercy, a local woman craving excitement, provoked a fight.
Mm-mm.
A dangerous confrontation ensued, but the warriors managed to break free from the orphans' hold by igniting a fire and using the ensuing confusion to their advantage.
Yeah, those orphans didn't want to fight.
No, they didn't want to fight. It was Mercy egging them on. Like,
do orphans ever want to fight?
No, you're right.
so this bitch,
Whoa.
she's a whore.
She didn't do nothing.
She's an instigator.
She didn't do nothing.
She is a bitch. She comes up and she basically punks the orphan leader and says, "Look, man, you're gonna let these warrior dudes wearing these vests? You're gonna let them walk on your turf?" Like she's just egging him on, basically making him look like less of a man.
There was a whole backstory to Mercy. That's in Warriors 2.
Electric Boogaloo.
Electric Boogaloo. Yeah, Mercy, she was actually an orphan herself.
She's a whore.
And she didn't want to be an orphan no more, and she wanted that, like you said, she wanted excitement.
Yeah, she wanted excitement. All of that new
And instead of
Johnson walking through the territory.
well, no, the guy's like, hey, this Mercy girl, and then he went and he grabbed her skirt and he ripped a piece off.
He did.
And I was like, oh no, look out.
That was Swan. Yeah, you thought he was
Yeah.
going to go doing some.
Yeah. And then he lit the Molotov.
He lit the Molotov, which, okay, so now let's go back to the having to suspend disbelief. So the two gangs are across the street from one another. There's 8 warriors versus, let's say, 12.5 or 24 orphans.
Yeah, it looks like 20-something.
Okay. So at the end of the orphans, I'm sorry. So
Orphans, what a scary gang.
I hate all the orphans in the whole world. So Swan lights this Molotov and throws it. Not at the orphans.
At the car. Yeah.
At a car that's down the street from the orphans. And what's that going to do? Well, I guess, everybody look at the fire on the thing.
Well,
these guys are serious, man. We better let them run away.
Well, no, bringing up, it reminded me of like a Simpsons thing because it just hit the top of the car.
Yeah.
And yet, let alone 2 seconds later, it's like, boom, the whole car blows up.
Classic Simpsons car explosion.
Yeah. And you're like, oh, okay.
It's like those guys never saw fire before. They would just be mesmerized, you know. But that girl, too, all she wanted, what started it all, she was like, give me your vest.
Yep.
Like, give me one. And the guy's like, fuck no, I'm not giving you one of our warriors' vests. If it wasn't for her, you know, everything would have probably been peaceful. Those guys didn't want any
That's
heat,
correct.
You know.
That's correct. The orphans were just showing their cred. And then all of a sudden, Mercy starts it up.
Yeah.
Yep. She's a B.I. itch. I want nothing to do with that.
She was in a couple movies in the early 80s. I was trying to find out her
more
name.
about
Yeah,
her.
I didn't get a chance to dive in. Mercy, she was a good looking lady.
Yeah, there was something about her.
I liked her.
She looked like a man.
I like Mercy. She wasn't doing nothing wrong. She was just hanging out.
I wonder what the tie was with her and them, like why they cared so much.
Because
Like,
she used to be an orphan, and then she
was she in that gang with them?
Yeah,
Or
she lived in their territory.
I think
she just lived there.
Yeah.
she was adopted by a rich family, and then the other orphans were really mad.
Get the fuck out of here.
That's a whole backstory. You guys didn't delve.
I didn't do that much research.
That was again. That was Warriors 2, Electric Boogaloo.
Yes.
That's not what we're reviewing today. We don't know the origin story of Mercy.
One thing I did like too in all these cutscenes was that DJ.
Yeah.
Like the reel's the real. Was that a radio station or was that just for effect?
No,
Like,
that was a radio station.
It was legit. I didn't know if it was like they were doing it for the movie.
You know who that chick is?
I do not.
Mm-mm.
So if you were ever, I should say maybe, obviously we were ever kids before. Of course we were. But back in the day, there was this show called Where in the World is Carmen Sandiego?
Yeah, I remember
Is that the lady?
She's the chief.
Oh, wow.
She's Carmen Sandiego's boss
Yes.
or whatever
Oh, wow.
of the Ajax detective agency or whatever the hell.
It reminded me of like in the Reservoir Dogs, like that radio station, like, you know, that 70s radio, like, hey man, like look out for our boys out there, the Warriors. They're making their way.
It's the same. It is the exact same concept that Spike Lee pulled in for Do the Right Thing.
Do the Right Thing, yep.
and all that, yeah.
I was thinking like SW balls.
That's W Balls if you look at it.
Yeah, I was digging at that little cut scene with the DJ and all that.
very
They're playing,
cool.
playing
This
some
is
good
a message for
tunes.
these Warriors. So that message was like, look, Warriors, this is a shout out to all other gangs out there. Go kill the Warriors.
So that's kind of like how they're communicating.
Correct.
Yeah, that's how they're getting before the internet.
It's like John Wick.
Right.
Yeah.
Nowhere to Run, they played that song.
That's right.
Mm-hmm.
That's right. Exhausted but undeterred, the Warriors pressed on, only to encounter the Lizzies, an all-female gang whose glamorous appearance masked their deadly intentions.
The Lizzies.
Not the Lezzies, but the Lizzies.
I know. That's what they didn't catch on.
Because when you don't have more beans, you have less beans. The Lizzies invited them to their hideout, offering a rare moment of respite. However, it was all a trap. The Lizzies' intentions were to kill them, claiming revenge for Cyrus's death. Fueled by desperation and quick thinking, the warriors fought their way out, realizing the deception and the price of their notorious reputation.
Yeah,
So this is the point at which they kind of split. Like the warriors split. Some of them were messed up by the police, or got jammed up with the police, or being chased by the police, and then another group.
Yeah, Ajax got in the park. He got the one girl was there undercover.
Yeah, the undercover cop got them all messed up.
I mean, this is the thing. Like,
And it wasn't even Mercy. It was some other hooker.
she was like a police undercover.
Correct. She was
police
undercover officer,
yeah, and she handcuffed him. And one by one, they're just like falling into that trap.
Yep.
You know.
Oh,
what I
yeah,
mean?
the one guy got caught. We didn't mention him. He got caught earlier by the cop, and the cop pulled him into the subway.
Oh yeah.
Remember? Yeah, he was the first one to go.
So there's a fun fact about that. So that's the guy that I had said was the last guy on the list. It was his character name was Fox. He was the brown-haired dude, brown-haired white guy of the Warriors, like the second in command. It was played by Thomas G. Waits. So we can talk about that. Fuck it. Let's talk about it now.
Yeah, do it.
Fun fact that Thomas G. Waits and that character of Fox. So Fox was supposed to have lived the whole way through this movie, the whole way. But that actor got on the bad side of the director.
No.
Hill,
Killed
the
him off.
director. So the director said, fuck you. I hate you. I don't want anything to do with you. I'm killing off your fucking character.
That's
and
wild.
so he did. So you see all this acting of this guy. You see, he's talking throughout the movie to this point. Like he talks a lot. He was talking with the orphans. He was talking with everybody. Then that's actually a stunt guy that got killed. Not even the actor. They had to incorporate.
I would hope so.
I'm saying they had to incorporate a guy that kind of looked remotely close to him to make it look like it was him. But
I think back in like 79, they probably just went on the street and found like 20 people that looked just like that guy.
That hairstyle. And stuff.
when I had said earlier that you had to dig, I had to dig deep to find out who that guy was. He is not credited at all in this movie.
Oh, for real?
You
They
will
didn't
not
put
see
in
him.
there.
Nope, he's not credited.
How do you do that though? If you're in a
isn't
movie,
that like illegal?
He said, "Fuck off." No, he actually said, "Fuck you for killing off my character. I don't want anything to do with this movie. Keep me out of the credits."
and he gets no residuals.
He
no nothing.
doesn't get a goddamn thing.
That's like being stubborn.
Yeah,
You still want to get paid. You know what I'm saying?
yeah.
And the Lizzies, yeah. Back to that. So it's just like there's only that one guy that doesn't seem to get caught.
He don't trust him. He's like, something's going
everybody
on.
else is horny and like, oh hey, making out and doing shit. And this one guy's like, get off me. You know what I mean? Like he
Well, yeah, the one
knows
girl's
he
like,
can
you want to dance?
He can see through the fog. You know what I mean? The guys get caught up in that, and he's the only one that's like, nah, something's off here.
Something's off.
So at least one of them had their head right. You know what I'm saying?
That's
With the
right.
right one. You know what I mean?
That's
Well,
right.
no, then the other, they were like the blonde and the other like the one black girl. They were dancing around, and he's like looking around like something's not. Well, the one girl they were packing, and I guess it was like, really hard to get a gun back then because none of the gangs had guns.
No,
But
very
even,
few.
Even the main black guy with the headdress stuff, he was like you said, he's probably one of my favorite dudes in the movie. Like he even got caught up in it.
Yep.
And like he seemed to have like a good head on his shoulders. That he seemed pretty like, you know what I mean. But he was even like falling for it.
Yep.
But who was it? It was the guy, Rembrandt.
Yeah, the
That
big
name.
fro.
He's the one that was like, nah, man, something's up.
Yep.
And he knew right away. He's like, they got heat or something. He said something like that, and then the girl started shooting and knives flying everywhere.
Yeah, that's the thing with these weapons and shit. The knives, guns, like
Bats.
hardly any. Yeah, bats. Like they're swinging. Like how do you miss that much? Like swinging bats, shooting. I mean, one guy did get stabbed. I know that
In the arm, yeah.
But like if somebody comes at you with a bat, you're usually kind of fucked.
Yeah.
But not in this movie.
No. So you would think let's get to these guys in a second.
All right, cool.
All right. Speaking of bats, the Warriors' odyssey continued through the darkened streets, where they then clashed with the Baseball Furies, a gang notable for their eerie appearance in baseball uniforms and their weapon of choice, the baseball bat. The fight was brutal, with the Warriors enduring a vicious melee before finally besting the menacing Furies and escaping yet again. So yeah, that I just wanted to get that in there because that's basically the baseball guys we're talking about. The baseball Furies, the oddly
face painted
baseball suit baseball uniform wearing guys. So if you're in a gang and your weapon of choice, not even choice, your weapon that is known to all other gangs, you're the dudes that are carrying baseball bats.
Mm-hmm.
Wouldn't you think that you would know how to swing it and hit somebody with it?
Yeah,
Just maybe.
You would think. That's what I was like shocked by. And then there again, there was in these scenes in all these movies, people are fighting. There's people standing around watching. Like, you know, they're standing there with bats and watching two guys go at it and fight. Like, I mean, wouldn't you all just gang up?
Yeah.
I don't know.
He said gang.
Yeah, no pun intended.
No, they were like, they looked like they were Yankee uniforms. Like they had the pinstripes, the gray, but there was no like signs on them. And the back had the Furies on it, which I thought was kind of cool.
Oh yeah, they all had their own custom made uniforms. And again, custom made uniforms. This costs money. In order to get money, you need a job or you need to rob a place, I guess.
Yeah, there's a lot of robberies there.
So I'm thinking, how are they funding these vests or these uniforms or the whatever? I guess either robbery or so maybe there's a straight guy someplace working.
But like I said, in the movie though, there was no. It didn't look like like people were working anywhere.
No,
I just think
these guys were working to get home.
But this is all over. This movie takes place from like maybe 8 o'clock at night.
Yeah,
it's like the next morning
it's late
or
at
whatever.
night, so
it's not like
people are out on the streets working, doing their thing.
You're right though. I wonder like these guys in the they wear those uniforms like during the day, like you know what I mean, like the baseball uniforms with the face makeup. I mean, what a job! Like every night now, I got to put this face makeup on.
Again, that's if I don't know. I'd love to know more about if you're balls deep in a gang. Is it your whole life or is it kind of like a part-time thing?
No, maybe it's like a bowling club, like they do it Tuesday nights. Like they tell their wives, you know, their girlfriends, like, hey, it's Tuesday, I'll be out. I'm like, okay, have fun.
Let's say if you're a Crip or a Blood or what's the Mexican one?
MS something.
MS3?
MS13.
MS13. Is that your full-time job? Or are you, I'm just in this gang, we hang out at night.
I think they have like a board or like a, like there's a top 10 or 15 that's like their whole thing.
I gotcha.
And I think the rest are like soldiers. They do their own thing. They come help out at night.
There's probably like a schedule, right? So you got first, second, and third shift. Like, okay, these are the guys that have afternoon jobs or whatever, but that's when you, maybe.
But then we got a little time on the weekends. They might come, make some burgers and fries.
Conventions.
A couple other notes I wrote down. Those baseball guys, they should have been football players. Like wear the helmet, the pads.
Yeah.
And you get in a fight, you're not going to get messed up.
Yeah.
Like why not wear equipment?
Would make sense.
I did see one hockey stick.
Yeah, you could have been a hockey player.
Yeah.
Like wear that. Something to protect yourself. And this one scene, I forget if it was right before that. It was in the subway somewhere. The one cop tackled the dude. I was like, man, that's great form. It was like a great tackle.
Sure.
And I don't know if you guys caught that.
Maybe he played football.
He might have. I don't know. And
Maybe
then,
they taught him that at the academy.
And one last thing on all these guys.
All these guys.
In great shape.
They're
running like running up the street, down the subways, running everywhere, never out of breath. Doesn't seem like.
So that leads me to believe that maybe the gang life is more of a full-time job, only because these guys are all broke. They're broke as a joke. And one thing you're going to find if you're that broke, you're not going to be fat. Like,
no,
because you can't afford to eat.
Right.
Again, these guys are moving and running and shaking all over, up and down the streets all the time. I mean, that's exercise.
And never running. This was the motors on these guys. It was amazing.
There was no car. Like I would have been like, hey, if we had a car, we can get places a lot better.
That's right.
So they had no money
beat up
to buy a car.
That Cadillac wagon, that was all.
That was dope though.
That was
the hearse.
Was that a hearse?
That's a hearse for sure.
Oh, okay.
What the one gang towards the end?
The Rogues.
The Rogues.
Okay.
Yeah, not the Riffs, but the Rogues. The
Rogues.
The bad guy. What's that Jagoff's name? The bad guy. Oh, Luther. Yeah, the guy with the bottles. He was in the Rogues. They drove a hearse. That was a 50 something hearse.
Wow, cool.
Okay.
All right. Underground, in the labyrinth of subways, the Warriors now faced the Punks, a roller skating gang of ragtags with an aggressive demeanor. The confined quarters made the encounter especially intense, but the Warriors' unity and relentlessness carried them through. Each confrontation peeled back more layers of the city's underworld, revealing the raw, violent landscape they navigated in their bid for survival. So this is just, again, one gang after another, after another. Now they got a gang on roller skates.
Yeah, you gotta watch out for them.
That's awesome. That's just fantastic. Roller derby in the subway.
But that was like the whole. I mean, that is the movie.
Everybody had a shtick.
It's a gang that has to get away from these other gangs trying to get them because they thought they did something bad, and then it goes towards what we're getting to next is like it's dawn and the sun's coming up and what's going to happen.
Yeah, I got basically an overall interpretation of this movie, and I can't wait to give it because it's so simple.
I had to laugh too. The one scene where the leader of the Warriors is with Mercy, and they're sitting on the train, and these couples come on, and the guy guys are there, 2 guys and their girlfriends. But I was like, is this another gang? Because they were just kind of like the Bee Gees. Did you see those guys? So I was like, is this their gimmick? And they were just two couples on a date. And they're looking over at the leader of the Warriors and Mercy, and they're kind of like, we better get out of here.
Yeah, they saw some couples along the way.
But it got me to thinking, too, about traveling on the subway. Like, even to this day, I'm sure you see some crazy-ass characters.
100%.
You know, I think I rode the subway up there when we were up there briefly, like, from, you know, not for, like, a long period of time, but I always hear horror stories about that you see on the subway.
You can get bad and good. There's anything good, you're going to find something bad.
But anything in New York though, just mind your business and you'll be fine.
Yeah, I mean, I dug the subways when I'm up there, but I mean, look, you're up there with whomever, maybe they don't like it. And
yeah, keep your head down and just.
You were up in New York last Christmas, and I think with the subways is in New York there's a lot of homeless people. It's very cold. The subway is cheap, and you can pretty much stay on it all night if you want. You know what I mean? So
you can stay warm, or
you can stay warm. You're out of the elements.
They'll kick you the fuck off.
I think once you get to the end, but you just go back through the turnstile, you know, pay whatever or fine, because people have those the passes everywhere. They're just laying all over the place. Scan through and then head all the way back the other way. I think as long as you're not like sleeping, or if you're just like chill in a corner, they leave you alone.
Maybe. No, that's not to be mistaken. Like anybody, anywhere bad can make something bad happen.
True.
Like somebody can go to a school and open fire. Somebody can go to any place and blow something up. Somebody can go on a subway and just pull a knife. Like it's going to happen.
The thing too with a subway though is you're so confined.
Sure.
And if something goes down, you're kind of screwed. You know what I mean? Like if you're on a subway train with just a couple people and you got a few bad eggs in there, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
That'd be scary.
I always wanted to be in a subway and like get caught in like a dance battle.
Yeah.
A dance off in the subway.
Yeah, like in the subway. Like guys like approach you, you're like all like scared, but then you start like popping and locking. They start like grabbing like doing a backflip.
If they can only settle things that way.
Yeah, you can only settle it that
way. The
way.
world would be a better place.
Yes.
On this topic of subway, I remember
Eat fresh.
You see the
Jared.
You see the cars in this. I mean, they are riddled with graffiti. Absolutely riddled with graffiti.
It's really bad graffiti too. It's not like the graffiti you see today on the trains. They just like had some cast members just go and spray paint stuff. I don't like it.
No, it was bad back in the day. Like there was a huge campaign to clean all of that shit off and new cars and all kinds of stuff. I mean, it's pretty decent now.
In New York, you're talking about?
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Wow.
All right. By dawn, the battle-worn warriors finally arrived back at their home turf in Coney Island. The relief was short-lived, however, as they prepared for the final confrontation with Luther and the rogues, who had also made their way to Coney Island. In a dramatic showdown on the beach, Luther's true nature was revealed. His plan to cause chaos by falsely accusing the warriors was exposed. In a symbolic gesture, Swan disarmed Luther using a simple yet significant weapon, a discarded bottle, diffusing the threat without bloodshed. With the arrival of the Gramercy Riffs, who had uncovered the truth about Cyrus's death, Luther and the rogues were finally held accountable. Justice was rendered as the warriors were exonerated. The journey, fraught with danger and betrayal, showcased their resilience and the profound bonds of brotherhood forged in the crucible of New York's gangland.
Yeah, it was a cool scene on the beach
Yeah.
at the end, like the showdown. Coney Island, though, looks like, I wonder if that still looks the same to this day. You know what I mean?
Well, see,
With
that
the
was a
parks.
ghost. It was a ghost town.
Yeah, well, they were there in the early morning. I don't know if it was popping off in 79. Like,
Wait, no, wait. Coney might still be good because that's where they do that hot dog eating thing, right?
Yeah.
All right.
So I'm wondering, like, the rides and all that, like, if it's pretty much unchanged or if it's updated.
I think they have
you know
them
what I mean?
like the throwback still there to make it like iconic.
Yeah.
This whole movie reminds me of a video game.
Well, they did make it into a video game.
Yes, they did.
Yeah.
And they had action figures and everything.
They did. I'm merely saying just the concept. Now, of course, as a child of the 80s and, coming up through the 90s, all playing video games and stuff, this is just simple video game 101. Just
like Double Dragon or something.
correct. You make your way to something, you fight a boss. Next one, you can make your way through something, fight a boss. And every time it's just this different gang by gang by gang. That's the boss. And so they just keep going and going and going until they get to the big boss.
Yeah.
Or it's like, again,
the big boss at the end, yeah.
The big boss at the end. It's the same thing. Or it's Mike Tyson's Punch Out. It's the same goddamn thing.
Right. Makes sense.
It reminded me of Michael Jackson video. Like I was ready for Mike to like pop in anytime.
Agreed.
I could see that.
Fun facts.
Ooh, about that time.
It's about that time.
So what do you guys got?
I don't know, I was saying earlier about there was a merchandising bonanza over this thing. They had video games, they had action figures, there was merchandising. I don't know.
There was a video game that came out, 25 years later in 2005.
Oh, wow. That was that late.
Yeah, so
Jeez.
25 years later in 2005, the video game The Warriors was done by Rockstar Games. Rockstar is the one that does Grand Theft Auto.
Grand Theft Auto.
The came out in 2005, and it's actually like most of the game is a prequel, like a lead up to the night of
The meeting.
Yeah, and then the basically like the last quarter of the game is the meeting through the end.
So we always like to talk about coulda, wouldas and all that.
Yeah.
So they said that Tony Danza was considered for the role of Vermin, and Robert De Niro and Sylvester Stallone were considered during early development stages of this movie. So that would have been interesting.
I could see Stallone doing it. De Niro's probably like, hell no.
I did see the Tony Danza thing.
Yeah.
I did see that.
Hey, oh, Angela.
Yeah.
Real gang members were hired as extras to add authenticity as well.
I did read that.
Yeah.
What do you got, Matt?
I don't know. It's a cult. It for however reason it became like a very big cult gathering, a cult movie.
Classic, yeah.
Yeah.
Like it wasn't, I don't think initially like a very big success. We talked about earlier was the violence that went down in some of the showings and
For
stuff
sure.
like that.
For sure. Like there was absolutely that. There was, life imitates art, imitates life. There were gang members who would go to see this movie, like, oh, let's see how we're depicted. And then gang warfare would ensue as a result. Like they get all hopped up or excited seeing what's going on.
Fired up, and then you want to go, do some crimes and stuff like that.
Marcelino Sanchez, that's the guy who played Rembrandt, the Puerto Rican guy with the tight afro curlier hair.
Right.
So he died of the AIDS in 1986 at 26 years old. Now I'm curious as to whether he might have had the AIDS when it was still called the Grid.
Oh, early on, yeah.
Because
Was he the same guy that didn't fall for the Lizzie's
correct?
sexual advances?
Correct.
Was he like, oh, hells no.
Hells no.
Let's get out of here.
I'm not into chicks. So yeah, it wasn't until 82 when the term grid was changed to AIDS. When drug users started getting AIDS, they couldn't call it grid anymore.
Oh, I got you.
Yeah.
The iconic line in this, "Warriors come out and play," that was improvised by David Patrick Kelly, the actor who said it. So yeah, it wasn't written or anything. Yeah,
even the Coke bottles, did he? That was pretty neat. That's part of the movie I remembered.
I think that whole scene there and the line was all improvised by him.
I read that I'd read that the come out and play, that was something that his neighbors used to use to taunt him when he was a kid.
Oh.
Like, hey, David, come out and play.
Because he was like funny looking
I
or
could
something?
see that dude getting like teased and say he seemed like a little off, like something was up with him. But that actually, when I heard that clanging of the bottles, I thought it was the start of a song.
Right.
And I was like, oh, what song is this going to be?
I think Wu-Tang has one or is
I
it
know what you're
Ice Cube
saying.
or Wu-Tang I think has something
it's-
where they come out and play and then it starts into the beat.
It's the Wu-Tang song that has a similar like clanging of sound.
Yeah.
Or, I don't know if it's bottles or whatever, but yeah.
I got a fun fact tie into my last fun fact.
Okay, go for it.
So speaking of AIDS and the grid, in this movie, there was supposed to have been a homosexual gang known as the Dingoes.
Oh, really?
I swear to God. It obviously did not make its way into the movie.
Your baby got ate by a dingo.
Well, they would have probably won the whole thing because they wouldn't get distracted.
Yeah.
But like these guys were, like every time they sent a woman in, it seemed like at least 2-3 parts of this movie where they're thrown off track.
I would argue conversely, they would have been thrown off track with all of the male members of all of the other gangs.
True, with the vest open up.
Shit,
like,
yeah.
These guys are pretty cut up.
Looky.
Yeah, they would have been like, yeah, true.
Mm.
But yeah, I didn't think about that one either. I guess they would be real distracted.
Oh my God,
all those hot guys in the park.
Yeah. Sweaty men.
Yeah.
Two snaps. Circle.
2 snaps up. So Michael Beck, who played Swan, broke 3 ribs during one of the subway scenes.
Damn.
Ouch.
Yeah, so
I broke a rib.
They said a lot of these actors actually did a lot of the stunts and stuff. Not only him, but other ones that got banged up doing this movie.
Right.
I heard they did costumes on a budget for this movie.
You don't say.
Yes.
Well, that's what I was wondering, like, who came up with these different gimmicks? You know what I'm saying? Like like if I really sat down and thought about it, I'm sure I can come up with some.
Well, I'm
some
sure a lot
decent
of-
ones and stuff.
Absolutely.
When they asked like the gangs to come, I'm sure they looked at when, you know, for the extras, some of the stuff they were wearing, they're like, oh, this is kind of cool with like a do-rag and like a vest or sleeveless shirt and like baggy pants. Like
Right.
that'd be a cool look, or that'd be a cool look.
So, like we said, this was shot entirely in New York City. The filming involved hazardous areas and subway areas. You know, predominantly shot at night.
Did we find
And-
out how long it took for the filming?
It was like 3-4 months, something like that.
Okay.
It was in the beginning, but they actually had some run-ins with some real life gangs.
Sure.
Because they're in different turfs and
Of
areas
course.
and stuff like that. So that was something that they encountered.
So, Dave, since you pulled this one off of our fan site,
yeah.
Fans.
as this is a fan favorite,
This was a fanboy favorite.
yeah, why don't you start us off with our, let's see, burn it, return it, or
Late fee, return,
fee.
or burn. Yeah,
That's
late
it.
fee, return, or burn. So shout out to Brian again, Brooklyn Brian, bringing this to my attention.
Is Brooklyn Brian from Brooklyn?
He
Is he a
is.
New York guy?
He is.
All right.
That's why.
All right.
And that's what I'm thinking. Like,
Yeah.
But no, there's another guy as well that was in the vicinity when we were talking about this, Raj. Now, he grew up in Hershey.
what's up, Raj?
Yeah, shout out Metric Raj. Raj is about the same age. These guys are both in their early 50s, so a couple years older than us. And it's a sweet spot for them in this movie. They talk about this movie was played on back when they would, and we went through that too. They'd play movies over and over and over again, and you know, they had like 3 or 4 channels. This is a movie that would play all the time, and it really, I guess, like you said, caught that cult following. They love this movie. For me, I enjoyed it. There was a lot of cool things in this movie that this is what that's from. Can you dig it and all that? I've heard that, and I don't know. We talked about maybe it was The Rock, which we didn't reference.
Yeah,
That
we
guy
didn't
looked like
reference
a skinny Rock, that Cyrus, but Matt came up with the same thing, and I think Zab, you were probably thinking the same thing as well.
There was definitely some rap group out there that sampled "Can You Dig
Can
It?"
you dig it?
Took that lifted it from this movie and sampled it into one of their tracks.
Right.
I just can't put my finger on who did it.
So those parts, like that stuff, I kind of liked, and it made me enjoy the movie. I definitely liked the cut scenes and the way they tied in the comic book look. I thought it was very well put together for the time. I've seen some movies in the 70s that's like really hard to watch.
Yeah.
This reminded me of a movie that I really enjoyed. It came out around the same time. It was not Night of the Living Dead. Was it Day of the Living Dead? I forget. It was the one where they got stuck in the mall out in Pittsburgh.
The newer one with Ving Rhames?
No, but this one came out like in 78, 79 around the same time. And it had a very similar vibe, the way it was filmed, and you know, but it was dealing with zombies.
Yep.
So this kind of reminded me of that. I think it might have been Dawn of the Dead. That's what it was. It was Dawn of the
Was
Dead.
that the newer
Dawn of the
one?
Dead.
The
No,
Ving
no,
Rhames- or
no.
the-
This is the original, like
Okay.
George Romero from like 78, 79.
Welcome back, Matt.
Yeah.
Yes. Sorry, I was.
But it had a very similar mix of those characters, and you know, so for me, I'd probably return this, but I'd watch it. I'm not burning it. I'm not late feeing it. I'm returning it. Now, back then when I saw it, if I saw it back then, I don't know that I ever watched this movie before. Maybe bits and pieces. Probably the same for me. You know, I don't have that nostalgic attachment to it, but I'm glad I watched it. But yeah, so for me, return.
I'm right with you. I would. I don't have the nostalgic attachment. I had tried to watch this movie over the course of years. I tried to watch it, couldn't get through it, but finally now getting through it, I would return it probably as quickly as I could. I wouldn't burn it, but I would definitely return it swiftly.
Try to get a refund, maybe.
Not necessarily the refund. It just look. We were all just this was a few years before our time, and we just didn't have that nostalgic tie to it.
Right.
Just didn't have it, but worth a watch for sure.
Right.
Glad I did it. I'm glad we did this. I just don't know the next time I'll be watching this movie again.
Right.
Well, one thing that hurt was I was trying to watch this in like a 20-part series on YouTube. So it wasn't wasn't the easiest watch, going in like 5, 7, 10-minute parts. I didn't, like I said, I didn't see the nostalgic part of it. There was a lot of, I think movies got a little bit more cool as we were getting older, but for a kid, you know, in 50s, early, late 50s, I being that old now, I could see them really liking this movie because it was something that they were like, oh, how cool.
Right.
But I would return it. I mean, it was cool that I got to watch a cult movie. I dig it, but can you dig it?
And one thing that at the very
Nice.
end, yeah, right. Can you dig it? The one thing at the very end that I was like, oh shit, I didn't know this was number one, I didn't know it was Joe Walsh. I thought it was the Eagles.
Oh yeah, we didn't talk about the
So in
good
the
songs
in the soundtrack, In the City, I've always liked that song, and it starts playing at the very end, and I'm like, oh shit, that's just from this movie.
Yeah, it
This
was
is
made
where
for that movie.
He made it for the movie, and it was Joe Walsh. And now you guys said that later on the Eagles performed it.
I did not. Matt said that. I know it was a Joe Walsh song.
See, I didn't know that. I mean, I always thought it was just an Eagles song that was on an album. I didn't know it was from this movie.
Yeah, Joe Walsh performed it first, and the Eagles had it on their one of their albums that came out right after that.
Yeah,
Look at that.
but
And
always
if you don't
that.
know, now you know.
Yeah, but I always like that song. You know, I like the Eagles. I like a bunch of their tracks, and that song in particular, and it's from this movie. So it was something I learned. So there were a couple things I learned from this movie that maybe made me like it a little more, like the taglines and like with the soundtrack. So yeah,
They said Redman and Ice Cube also had a song, "Can You Dig It?" was actually from a whole Ice Cube album.
oh, maybe they took it from.
And that's where they took it from the Warriors. Yes.
Yeah. At any rate, please continue to add to those the list of movies, because we want to try to pick from that and find ones that our listeners enjoy, so that we can review, you know, and have you engaged. I know, like when we do movies, obviously, if somebody picked a movie, they're going to want to listen to hear what we have to say about it. So the more listeners that leave movies on there and you guys go on there and vote, we'll put out content that you guys want to hear. Obviously, you want to hear us talk about the movie. It's not necessarily a movie that I would have seeked out, like Zab said. But, you know, it was cool to watch.
It was a cult movie, and I appreciate it. Thank you.
So also on our Facebook is that. You can follow us on Instagram at Old Dirty Basement and on TikTok at Old Dirty Basement Podcast. You guys got anything else?
I got nothing.
Nope.
All right, so I guess that's it for now. So we'll catch you where?
On the flip side.
If we don't see you sooner, we'll see you later.
Peace. Thanks for listening to The Vintage Cinema Review in the Old Dirty Basement. If you dig our theme music like we do, check out the Tsunami Experiment. Find them on Facebook. Their music is streaming on Spotify and Apple, and where great music is available.
You can find us at Old Dirty Basement on Facebook and Instagram, and at Old Dirty Basement Podcast on TikTok.
Peace.
We outie 5000.